Good afternoon, kids. This is Pastor Brian. I'm sitting in my office this afternoon, and as you can see in the background, I have a lot of books here. I really like books, and I'm guessing you probably like books too. But I thought I might take a few times over the coming weeks when you guys are home from school and just read a book to you. Something, not so much the ones that are on my shelf, but ones I've gotten from my kids that I think you'll enjoy. And so for today, I thought for our first one, we would read this book called The 1 O'Clock Miracle. The 1 O'Clock Miracle. And maybe some of you have read this before, but we can have some fun reading together. Long ago, there lived an important man who worked for the king. He was sad and so worried. His son was very ill, so ill. He was going to die, and no one could help him. But then, he heard that a man named Jesus was doing the most amazing, wonderful things. He heard that Jesus was making ill people well again. He heard that Jesus was doing things that only God could do. So the man decided to ask Jesus for help. The man and his son lived in Capernaum by the sea. Here's the Sea of Galilee where Jesus often was, and here's the town he lived in. But Jesus was staying in Cana, more than 20 miles away. It was a very long walk, and uphill all the way. But the man had decided that he must see Jesus. So he said goodbye to his son and his family, and he set off to see Jesus. Looks like he's got a really big bag of stuff there he's taking with him. Up the hill he walked, and sometimes ran, because he wanted so badly to see Jesus. The sun went down, the night was dark, and the stars were bright, but the man didn't stop. Huffing and puffing, he walked, and sometimes ran, hurrying to see Jesus. The sun came up, the morning arrived, but there was still a long way to go. Puffing and panting, the man walked, and sometimes ran, because he needed to see Jesus. At last, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the man reached Cana, the town where Jesus was. He had walked, and sometimes run, and now, at last, he could see Jesus. "Please, sir," he said, "my son is dying. Please come with me. Please make him better." The man knew that if Jesus came with him and touched his son, the boy would be well again. But Jesus just said, "Go." I don't think that's what he wanted to hear. What? Go home without Jesus? After all that walking and even running to get Jesus to come? But Jesus hadn't finished. "Go," Jesus said, and then he added, "Your son will live." The man believed him. Jesus wasn't going to come to the man's house. He wasn't going to touch the boy to make him well. But the man still trusted that what Jesus said was true. Down the hill he walked, and sometimes ran, because he believed Jesus. The sun went down. The night was dark, and the moon shone brightly. The man felt so tired, but on and on he walked, and sometimes ran, because he trusted Jesus. Here you can see he's thinking to himself, "Your son will live." The sun came up, a new morning arrived, and still he walked. though his back ached and his legs were very tired. Your son will live, he keeps thinking. On he walked and sometimes ran because he was sure Jesus would make his son well. Then, far away in the distance, he saw some men. They came closer and closer. They were his own servants. They must have news, he thought. But what would it be? Sir, they said, it's your son. He's alive. He is well again. The man was bursting for joy. When, the man asked, when did he get better? Yesterday, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock, the man replied. Then the man remembered. It was 1 o'clock when he saw Jesus. It was 1 o'clock when Jesus said his son would live. And it was 1 o'clock when his son got better. Jesus didn't need to go and see the boy. He didn't need to walk and walk. He didn't have to run. Jesus simply spoke. And just like that, the boy was better. Wow! Only Jesus could do that. And do you know why? Because Jesus is God's son. Happy and smiling, the man walked home, and sometimes he ran to see his son again. Then he told his son and his family about Jesus and how Jesus could do things that only God can do. And they all believed in Jesus, God's son, too. Your son will live, he exclaims. And now that the man's son was well, what could he do? He could smile and he could laugh. He could walk and he could run. And all because of Jesus. Well, this story actually happened. It's in the Bible in John chapter 4 in the New Testament. And it's one of the miracles that John writes about that tells us about Jesus. And all of the miracles that John writes about in his gospel, he says towards the end of it, they were all written so that you might believe that Jesus was the Christ, and that by believing, you would have life in his name. So that's why he wrote and told us about these miracles that Jesus did, so that we would believe and we would have life in his name. And just like this man in the story, we can trust Jesus to keep all of his promises, to do everything he said he would do. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind now when there's a lot of scary things in the news, that Jesus has promised that he will bring in all of his sheep, and that no one or nothing can take us out of his hand. We can trust him in all things. So I want to encourage you guys with that and read that book with you. I'm thinking about over the next few days to put up a few devotional videos for you guys, because Easter's coming when we celebrate Jesus' resurrection from the dead. And so there's a little daily devotional that I've used with my kids in the past, and I think you might enjoy, and I'll send your parents an email about that, and you can look for more videos to come. I hope you all have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.